Did you know that Americans now live an average of 79 years? But there's a hidden test that determines if you'll reach 90 or struggle to see 75. Meet Margaret Chen, a 69-year-old grandmother from Portland who discovered this secret at her routine physical. Her doctor was stunned by her test results. She was failing what I call the reserve capacity rule, that 85% of people over 60 don't even know exists. 3 years later, Margaret is 72, hiking mountains and outliving friends decades younger. The difference? She learned to keep her body operating at 85% capacity instead of the deadly 100% most of us push daily. This isn't about exercise or diet. It's about something far more fundamental that could add 15 healthy years to your life, or explain why time might be running shorter than you think. Let me tell you about Eleanor Martinez. At 94, she's not just alive, she's thriving in ways that defy medical expectations. This former Phoenix school principal discovered something shocking during a routine doctor visit at 68. Her body was running on empty, operating at a dangerous 98% capacity that was literally killing her slowly. Her physician told her it was normal aging, but Eleanor refused to accept that death sentence. What she did next stunned her entire medical team and changed everything we thought we knew about aging after 65. Today, Eleanor still drives herself to volunteer at 3 different charities, walks 2 miles daily, and recently beat her 45-year-old grandson in a hiking challenge. Her secret isn't genetics or luck. It's mastering the 85% rule that most doctors never discuss with patients. If this story inspires you to take control of your own longevity, smash that like button and subscribe for more life-changing health secrets that could add decades to your life. Here's what Eleanor's doctor discovered that changed everything. Your body is designed to operate at only 85% capacity during normal daily activities, keeping 15% in reserve for emergencies, healing, and sudden demands. Think of it like your car's fuel tank. You never want to run on empty because you need that extra gas for unexpected detours or traffic jams. Scientific research confirms that this physiological reserve capacity is a major determinant of an individual's ability to remain active and cope with daily stresses and illnesses. Yet, most people over 65 unknowingly exhaust this reserve daily. The problem is, our modern lifestyle forces us to operate at 95% or higher capacity constantly. Eleanor's blood work revealed she was running at 90% daily usage at age 68. Her heart, organs and cellular energy systems were maxed out just to get through basic activities. This linear decline of reserve capacity shows values ranging from 0.5% to 1.4% per year, which explains why small setbacks become major health crises as we age. When Eleanor's cardiologist saw her stress test results, he was genuinely shocked. Her cardiovascular reserve capacity had decreased to dangerous levels. Her maximum heart rate and aerobic capacity were compromised, yet she felt fine during normal activities. That's the deadly trap. You feel okay until your body has no reserve left to handle illness, falls or stress. The 85% rule isn't about limiting yourself, it's about strategically preserving the energy reserves that keep you alive and thriving. Eleanor learned that by reducing her daily capacity usage from 90% back to 85%, she could rebuild the reserves that would add not just years, but quality years to her life. Before I reveal the rule, comment below, what age do you honestly expect to live to? Drain number 1, the stress overflow. Eleanor's first wake-up call came when her doctor showed her cortisol test results. At 68, constant worry about her fixed income and her husband's health had hijacked her body's stress system, burning through 30% of her precious capacity reserves. Research shows that chronic stress causes persistent elevations in blood pressure, increased blood glucose levels, and decreased immune function, while aging naturally increases daily cortisol levels, creating a deadly combination. Here's what was happening. Eleanor spent 15 hours daily mentally rehearsing financial catastrophes that never materialized. Her brain couldn't distinguish between real threats and imagined ones, so her HPA axis remained constantly activated, leading to impaired ability to recover from stressful stimuli that's particularly damaging in older adults. This chronic activation was literally stealing years from her life. Eleanor's breakthrough came with what she calls her worry window technique. Instead of allowing anxiety to consume her entire day, she designated exactly 15 minutes each morning to actively worry about everything on her mind. She'd write down every concern, spend those 15 minutes thinking through solutions, then mentally close the window until the next day. When worry thoughts arose outside her window, she'd tell herself, "That's tomorrow's worry time." The science behind this is remarkable. By limiting stress exposure to controlled periods, cortisol levels can normalize, allowing the body to rebuild its physiological reserves. Within 3 weeks of implementing her worry window, Eleanor's evening cortisol dropped by 40%. And she noticed something incredible. She had energy left at the end of the day for the first time in years. The key insight? Chronic stress accelerates biological aging by depleting the exact capacity reserves your body needs for healing and emergency response. Eleanor learned that managing stress isn't about eliminating it completely. It's about containing it to protect your precious 15% reserve. By reducing her daily stress burden from overwhelming to manageable, she reclaimed the energy her body needed to actually function at 85% instead of the dangerous 100% that was slowly killing her. Eleanor's second capacity killer was hiding in plain sight, her pride in being a so-called short sleeper. For 15 years, she'd bragged about functioning on just 5 to 6 hours of sleep each night, claiming it gave her more time to live. But then, her doctor's revelation changed everything. Sleep deprivation in older adults severely impairs the body's ability to recover from daily stress, with chronically elevated cortisol levels preventing proper cellular repair. The hidden truth that shocked Eleanor was that every hour of sleep debt was actually costing her 3 hours of functional capacity the next day. Research shows that sleep is when your body rebuilds its physiological reserves, the exact 15% capacity cushion that determines whether you thrive or merely survive. At 5 hours nightly, Eleanor's recovery efficiency had plummeted to just 40%, meaning she was starting each day already depleted. Here's the deadly math. If your body needs 8 hours for full cellular repair and reserve rebuilding, sleeping only 5 hours creates a 3-hour deficit every single day. Over a week, that's 21 hours of accumulated damage. Over a year, Eleanor had accumulated the equivalent of 91 full days of unrepaired cellular damage. No wonder she felt like she was aging in fast forward. Eleanor's mistake wasn't just about quantity, it was ignoring sleep architecture. Deep sleep is when your brain clears toxic proteins, your immune system rebuilds, and your cardiovascular system resets its stress responses. By cutting sleep short, Eleanor was skipping the most crucial repair phases, forcing her body to operate on fumes while toxins quietly accumulated. The breakthrough came when Eleanor implemented her sleep architecture rebuilding method. First, she established a non-negotiable 7.5-hour sleep window, enough for 5 complete 90-minute sleep cycles. Second, she created what she calls the shutdown ritual. No screens after 9 p.m, bedroom temperature set at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and 15 minutes of gentle stretching to signal her nervous system that recovery time had begun. But the real game changer was understanding sleep debt payback. Research shows that it takes about 4 days of quality sleep to recover from just 1 hour of sleep debt in older adults. Eleanor realized her 15-year sleep deficit couldn't be erased overnight. It required patient, consistent rebuilding. Within 6 weeks of her new sleep protocol, Eleanor's energy transformation was dramatic. Her morning cortisol normalized, her afternoon crashes disappeared, and most importantly, her body's recovery efficiency jumped from 40% to 85%. She discovered that those extra 2.5 hours of sleep weren't lost time. They were an investment that returned 4 to 5 hours of quality energy the next day. The sobering reality is that sleep deprivation accelerates biological aging by preventing the cellular repair processes that maintain your physiological reserves. Eleanor's sleep debt had been silently stealing her capacity for over a decade. But by prioritizing sleep architecture over sleep sacrifice, she reclaimed the nightly recovery process that would add years to her life, and truly, life to her years. Drain number 3, the movement paradox. Eleanor's third, and honestly most shocking discovery was that her so-called healthy exercise routine was actually killing her faster than being sedentary. At 65, she decided to prove age was just a number by training for a marathon. What nearly destroyed her was the paradox most doctors simply won't tell you. Both too little and too much exercise can drain your precious capacity reserves, with overtraining syndrome affecting up to 60% of older endurance athletes. Now here's the surprising science. Eleanor's marathon training pushed her body into what researchers call overtraining syndrome, a maladapted response to excessive exercise that causes, well, perturbations of multiple body systems, including neurologic, endocrinologic, and immunologic dysfunction. Her 20-mile weekend runs were consuming 40% of her weekly capacity reserves in single sessions, leaving her body scrambling to meet basic daily needs with whatever energy remained. The deadly trap? While regular exercise can in fact reduce overall mortality by 25% and increase life expectancy by 2 years, excessive training in older adults can accelerate the aging process by depleting the exact physiological reserves needed for recovery. Eleanor's heart rate stayed elevated for hours after training, her sleep became fragmented, and her immune system crashed. She caught every cold that came within a 10-foot radius. The wake-up call came when Eleanor collapsed during a 15-mile training run. Her doctor's tests revealed something truly terrifying. Her body was operating at 105% capacity daily, borrowing from tomorrow's energy reserves just to survive today's demands. The oxidative stress from overtraining had actually decreased her citrate synthase activity, the enzyme that reflects your body's ability to produce energy efficiently. Eleanor's breakthrough came with what she called her Goldilocks movement principle, finding the exercise sweet spot that built reserves instead of depleting them. She replaced her punishing marathon training with what she calls capacity building movement, 30 minutes of moderate activity that left her energized, not exhausted. Her new routine included brisk walking, gentle strength training twice weekly, and flexibility work, never pushing beyond 75% of her perceived maximum effort. The magic happened when Eleanor learned to distinguish between challenge and damage. Research shows that moderate exercise in older adults substantially attenuates age-related declines in muscle and cardiovascular function, while building the exact physiological reserves needed for independent living. Her new approach triggered what she calls the energy multiplication effect. Instead of each workout draining her for days, she felt more energetic after exercising. Which of these 3 deadly drains is stealing your reserves most? Be honest in the comments. Is it the stress overflow, sleep debt crisis, or movement paradox that's aging you faster than time itself? The 85% rule implementation. Week 1 and 2, the capacity audit. Eleanor's first step wasn't adding something new, it was discovering just how dangerously close to empty she was running. Her doctor taught her the daily capacity assessment, a simple method anyone can use at home. Each evening, Eleanor rated her energy on a scale of 1 to 10 at 3 key moments: morning awakening, mid-afternoon, and bedtime. The shocking truth, her average was 3.2 out of 10, meaning she was operating on fumes most days. But the real wake-up call came with the 7 warning signs that you're exceeding 85% capacity. Eleanor discovered she had 6 of them. First, needing caffeine just to feel normal rather than energized. Second, feeling exhausted after routine activities like grocery shopping. Third, taking longer than 10 minutes to fall asleep due to a racing mind. Fourth, catching every bug that went around. Fifth, feeling irritable over small inconveniences. Sixth, experiencing that 3 p.m. crash daily. The 7th sign she thankfully didn't have was needing more than 1 day to recover from any physical exertion. Eleanor's doctor initially said reversing capacity depletion was impossible because research shows that physiological reserve capacity declines 0.5 to 1.4% per year after age 60, and most medical professionals believe this decline is irreversible. He explained that Eleanor's decades of running at 90% plus capacity had created what he called chronic depletion syndrome. Her body had forgotten how to maintain reserves because it had been in survival mode for so long. Week 3 and 4, the reserve building. Eleanor's breakthrough came from the most counterintuitive advice she'd ever received. To build energy, she had to do less, not more. Her doctor explained that functional reserve is like a bank account. You can't make deposits while you're constantly making withdrawals, and reserve capacity is a major determinant of an individual's ability to remain active and cope with daily stresses. Her revolutionary 15-minute daily protocol became the foundation of everything. Each morning, Eleanor spent 15 minutes in what she called intentional rest. Not meditation, not exercise, just sitting quietly and letting her nervous system reset. This wasn't about relaxation, it was about giving her body permission to shift from survival mode into recovery mode. This simple practice began normalizing her stress response and allowing her cortisol levels to follow healthy circadian patterns again. The magic was in the subtraction, not addition. Eleanor identified her energy vampires, activities that drained more than they gave back. She eliminated evening news, replacing anxiety with an earlier bedtime, reduced social commitments from 5 weekly to 2 monthly, and stopped multitasking, which she discovered was burning 25% more mental energy than single tasking. Instead of her usual go-go-go approach, she built in 5-minute buffer zones between activities. Most surprisingly, Eleanor started saying no to things she'd always said yes to, not out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation. She learned that chronic depletion occurs when environmental demands exceed an individual's coping capacity, and that protecting her reserves wasn't lazy. It was strategic longevity planning. By week 4, something remarkable happened. Eleanor woke up one morning and realized she felt energetic before her coffee, something that hadn't happened in 15 years. Her afternoon energy was steady instead of crashing. Most shocking of all, she had energy left at 8 p.m. to actually enjoy conversations with her husband instead of just surviving until bedtime. The transformation wasn't gradual, it was dramatic. Eleanor described feeling like she'd found the energy I thought was gone forever. Her capacity audit scores jumped from 3.2 to 7.8 out of 10, and she was operating comfortably at 85% instead of the dangerous 95% plus that had been slowly killing her. For the first time in decades, Eleanor had genuine energy reserves, the 15% buffer that would prove crucial for handling life's inevitable challenges while maintaining her vitality. The breakthrough moment. 12 weeks after implementing the 85% rule, Eleanor walked into her doctor's office for routine blood work, expecting, just modest improvements. What happened next left her medical team speechless. Her inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, had dropped by 60%, levels typically seen only in people decades younger. Her cortisol patterns had normalized to healthy circadian rhythms, and her HPA axis function showed remarkable recovery that her physician called medically extraordinary for someone her age. But the real shocker was her cellular age test. Eleanor's telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes that shorten with aging, had actually lengthened. Her biological age had reversed from 74 to 66, an 8-year turnaround that made her doctor question the lab results. He ran the tests twice more, convinced there was an error. The evidence was undeniable. By reducing her capacity usage from 90% to 85%, Eleanor had triggered her body's natural repair mechanisms and rebuilt the physiological reserves that determine longevity. Her cardiologist's admission was stunning. In 30 years of practice, I've never seen someone reverse their biological clock like this. What Eleanor achieved shouldn't be possible at her age. He immediately began recommending the 85% rule to all his patients over 60, calling it the most significant breakthrough in healthy aging I've witnessed. Her physician now teaches Eleanor's protocol to other doctors, crediting her with changing how he approaches geriatric medicine. The ripple effect through Eleanor's family was profound. Her daughter, watching her 70-year-old mother suddenly have more energy than she did at 45, implemented the same principles and lost 30 pounds without dieting. Her son started taking his own stress seriously after seeing his mother's transformation. Most touching was her husband's reaction. After 45 years of marriage, he said Eleanor had become the woman I fell in love with again, referring to her renewed vitality and zest for life. Eleanor's grandchildren noticed the change immediately. Instead of a frail grandmother who tired easily, they now had an adventure partner who could keep up with their hiking trips and beach volleyball games. Her transformation became the catalyst for her entire family to examine their own capacity usage. Today, 3 generations of Eleanor's family live by the 85% rule, creating what she calls a legacy of longevity that will impact her lineage for decades to come. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads that will determine whether you thrive or merely survive your remaining years. You have 2 paths. Continue burning through your precious capacity reserves at a deadly 95% plus until your body has nothing left to give, or start building those life-extending reserves today using Eleanor's proven 85% rule. Here's the harsh reality. Every single day you delay is another day your capacity naturally decreases. Research confirms that reserve capacity declines up to 1.4% per year after 60, meaning procrastination literally costs you months of quality life. But Eleanor proved that age is just a number when you work with your body's natural recovery systems instead of against them. Hit that like button if you're ready to live by the 85% rule and reclaim the energy you thought was gone forever. Share this with someone who desperately needs those extra healthy years with their loved ones. This could be the gift that saves their life. Subscribe now for more life-extending secrets that most doctors never share with patients over 60.